SMEs, small investors, and I guess access to capital. Well, we're very much aware that in our capital market there are not enough small, medium, and emerging firms are listing on the exchange. That's one end of the curve, and the other end of the curve is the fact that when you look at let's call it retail and average Joe participation, that's also I guess lacking. Let me give you some statistics. If you look at numbers of accounts, let's call it securities accounts that are around. I think the ratio is about 85% what I would call retail, meaning individuals like you and me, and about 15% institutional. These are the large firms. Yet on any given day on the stock exchange, the value that's traded is actually the reverse. It's about 90% institutional and only about 10% retail. That tells you something that first of all, not enough individuals are, I guess, participating directly, maybe even indirectly, and I guess secondly, that the education effort to try and reach a wider range of investor savers is probably lacking. And I should say that we're doing a number of things on this side in terms of our market education. We run now kind of monthly ourselves, meaning there's a PSE now. We run monthly educational programs for basic saving and investment seminars. It is essentially the ABCs to anyone who wants to literally walk in. We run a number of similar programs with various banks, I guess insurance companies as well, on a program basis. And I think more importantly, we've now started to work with universities in terms of trying to bring this program on a more, let's call it, formal basis. And in fact, we now have another separate program which we call the special, although it is perhaps for slightly more involved individuals, specialist securities course which we're running with the top 5 universities in the country. And we hope that that expands. Finally, as we're trying to use social media, as you've seen, a lot of technology to try and bring it down to essentially anyone who can access using not just a computer but your phone or any device. We hope that we can actually increase this penetration, which even the Bankers Association considers extremely low. So we're working also with the BAP in terms of saying how do we expand our interface with basic savers and investors, you know, at the local bank level, so that they're aware that there are other instruments created not just by the banks but also by insurance companies and I guess indirectly by the exchange. On the right side of the curve, going back to trying to encourage you know, a lot of these smaller companies to come and raise money through the exchange. We have worked now with the DPP for about a year, trying to convert a lot. As you know, that they are, let's call it, feeder programs wherein they help small entrepreneurs get started. And as they grow, which the DPP continues to, I think, support, what we're trying to do is get them into thinking of listing, for example, on the exchange. And last year we had, I think, 2 very great examples of firms who actually listed in the small and medium and emerging board. One was called Double Dragon. For those of you who are following, it is actually run by the guy who created Mang Inasal. Double Dragon basically, in jump to a sea. And that concept was essentially trying to put small community malls wherein maybe an SM would not go, or maybe so it's a little bit more than a sari-sari store, but you know, community malls where you probably had a drugstore, a small maybe fast food chain, and 1 or 2 other stores. So extremely well. I think their market capitalization has almost doubled as of this year, from what I heard. The other firm is Surpass, Xurpas. It's a technology firm, talking about technology. A couple of young guys worked out of literally their mother's garage for maybe 2 or 3 years before getting a bigger garage. And after about 6 or 7 years, their product, well, they started with a couple of very basic games on the phone, telephone. Today or yesterday, they announced they bought a U.S. company, a small U.S. Technology company. So by basically coming into the stock market, and their stock has done extremely well, what's happened is their ability, there's a Filipino homegrown entrepreneurial group of 3 guys, really friends, who've demonstrated that they too, through their kind of bootstrap mentality, can get something that is widely used. By the way, the technology is used by a number of the phone companies around ASEAN. You know, Singtel, I think Malaysia's one of the Malaysian firms, whether it's Digicom or the other one, is using one of the software. So clearly there are stories of SMEs trying to list, and we encourage them. But on the other hand, we are trying to encourage a lot of the, I guess, retail investors to come in and diversify their own portfolios. Maybe on the second point on human capital. No, we're very much supportive of this, although our own programs, interestingly enough, are, and our foundation, PSC Foundation, if you take a look at what we support, it's primarily education, and hopefully education leads to involvement in the capital markets. So unfortunately, this engagement today that we have is quite focused on helping, in this case, rebuild Typhoon Haiyan destroyed schools, right? Which is probably the most immediate use. But we are spending some money in terms of trying to help, let's call it practical education, financial education. We actually have gone on to the Department of Education, and one of our programs that they did approve was essentially teaching very basic things about, let's call it capital market investing in high school. In the senior course in high school, which I guess has general economics as a basic thing. So the idea there, of course, is we hope that we try to educate a lot of our younger folk that there's a lot more to financial literacy than perhaps what they see on